ഹലോ, എല്ലാവർക്കും ഒരിക്കൽ കൂടി കേരള ഡിലൈറ്റ്സ് പ്ലസ് ചാനലിലേക്ക് സ്വാഗതം. ഇന്ന് നമ്മൾ ലേക്ക് ഷാസ്ത ക്യാവേൺസ് കാണാൻ പോവുകയാണ്. ഇതെന്താണെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ ഒരു ഗുഹ, അതിൻ്റെ അകത്തുള്ള ഫോംസൊക്കെ ചില ഫോർമേഷൻസൊക്കെ ഉണ്ട്. കുറേ വർഷങ്ങളായിട്ടുള്ള ഗുഹയാണ്. അപ്പം അത് കാണാൻ വേണ്ടിയാണ് പോണേ. അത് കാണാൻ പോകണമെങ്കിൽ എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു ഫസ്റ്റ് നമ്മളൊരു ബോട്ട് റൈഡുണ്ട്. അതെങ്ങാണ്ട് 5 മിനിറ്റേ ഉള്ളെന്ന് പറയട്ടെ. അത് കഴിഞ്ഞ് അവിടെ ചെന്ന് കഴിയുമ്പോൾ അവിടെ നിന്ന് ഈ ചെറിയ ബസ് നമ്മളെ കൊണ്ടുപോകും ഈ ഗുഹയുടെ ഗുഹ സിറ്റുവേറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്ന സ്ഥലത്തേക്ക്. 35 രൂപ അഡൾട്ടിന് ടിക്കറ്റ്. പിള്ളേർക്ക് എത്ര വെച്ചു? 21 പിള്ളേർക്ക്. അങ്ങനെയാണ് പ്രൈസ്. പിന്നെ നമ്മൾ വണ്ടി അവിടെ മേളിൽ കൊണ്ട് പാർക്ക് ചെയ്യാനിട്ടിട്ട് ബാക്ക് പാക്സ് ഒന്നും കൊണ്ടുപോകാൻ പറ്റില്ല കേട്ടോ. ജസ്റ്റ് സാധാരണ ബാഗൊക്കെ കൊണ്ടുപോകാം. ബാക്ക് പാക്ക് ഒന്നും കൊണ്ടുപോകാനായിട്ട് അവർ സമ്മതിക്കാനില്ല.
Now on our way over, feel free to stand up, walk around, take pictures. I just ask that you leave the area right in front of Captain Dave clear so that he can see where we're going. Keep your eyes peeled. You might just get lucky and see one.
You guys didn't think you'd be off-roading in a bus today, eh? Or a four-wheeler? A few years ago would have been completely submerged by the lake. The lake would have been all the way up, just inches from those trees. The lake can rise and fall very, very quickly because it is a man-made reservoir. We've seen a lake come up almost 20 feet in one night. And at this time last year, the lake was 63 feet lower than it is right now. And the Bureau of Reclamation estimates that the lowest point the lake will reach this year will still be higher up than it was last year. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Just pray for rain, eh? Alright, now this concrete platform that you guys can see here, if you look real closely, you might notice it has a bunch of scrape marks running through it. Now these scrape marks that you see are actually from the pontoons of the boat that you just rode across the lake on. So just a few years ago, your journey would have started right here. Here, or here, or there, or over there. Alright, now this is the roughest portion of the ride, so go ahead and put your hands in the air like you just don't care. I don't see enough hands. There we go, perfect. Alright, now 1, 2, and just like that, our paved portion of the journey begins. We are about to rise 900 feet in elevation through a mixed forest zone, which basically means that there are evergreen and deciduous trees all around us. Evergreen meaning they are green through all of the seasons, all year round, and deciduous meaning they drop their leaves and they change colors. Does Bigfoot have 2 big feet or just 1 big foot? Because he's called Bigfoot, not Big Feet. Think about that today. Alright, now this gray building off the right here is the most important building in your entire life because our generator shed here that houses our generators makes it so that you and I do not have to stumble around in the dark like they did in 1878. You and I get to have lights and power and electricity on this mountain all because of those generators. Right now, would have at one point
point in time been under the ocean. And no, I'm not just guessing that, because this big gray rock right here that stretches all the way up the mountain called limestone tells us a story of resting under the ocean due to the aquatic fossils that can be found all throughout this mountain. Now, in addition to this entire area resting under the ocean for a period of time, our cave was formed in a two-step process, where the first step, the genesis, the hollowing out, was taking place. Now, the hollowing out is when carbonic acid carved out all of the blank canvas of our cave. Now, as the tectonic plates collided and pushed this entire area up from under the ocean, rainwater was now running into the cave. And that rainwater and that fresh water was making its way into the cracks and crevices of the limestone, drawing out the calcium on its way in, depositing carbon dioxide, and precipitating or filling in all of that blank canvas with crystal. So first the hollowing out, and then the filling in. Make sense? Now, our cave was filled in with one type of crystal and one type of crystal only, and that's calcite crystal. Can you say calcite crystal?
Calcite crystal.
Good job. Now, before we go in, I want to let you guys know that we are about to walk through a national natural landmark, which basically means that this place was deemed both geologically and historically weighty and important to our world by the National Park Service. And because that is such an honor to receive that award, we do have a standard that we have to uphold and rules that we have to enforce. But don't worry, they called me ahead of time and said, Ethan, this group is super well behaved, don't worry about them at all. So I'm not worried, but I just want to let you guys know there's no food or drink allowed inside the cave except for water. On the 1950s, they blasted that tunnel that you and I just walked through 180 feet in and then 200 feet straight up. Now their plan was to get to that room that's at the top of the stairs there called the basement room. However, on their way up to the basement room, as they were blasting with dynamite, one of their sticks of dynamite blasted 15 feet off to the left and exposed not one, but two additional cave areas that they had no idea even existed at the time. So what that means for you folks is that you are about to see 61% more cave than was ever known about in 1874. Now, all of the crystals in this cave are what kind of crystals, guys?
Calcite.
Great job, calcite crystals. Now, as you can tell, calcite crystal looks very different all over this cave. But the first form of calcite crystal that I want to show you is what I call a soda straw. Now, I call them a soda straw because they are small, thin, fragile, but most importantly, they have the inside diameter the size of a drop of water. And these are formed as rainwater deposits rings of calcium, one after another. Sometimes, however, that rainwater will deposit sedimentation in the middle of these formations, plugging up that tiny inside diameter and forcing that calcium-rich water that was running inside that formation to run on the outside, creating a crystal that looks like this one right here. Can you all see that crystal dangling off the end? Yeah. Hang in there, buddy. Now, come back and see me in 150,000 years, and that little guy on the wall right behind me will look a little bit more like this guy right above my head. Now, as gravity continues to draw this stalactite further and further away from the ceiling and closer to the floor, the drops of water that run off of this formation hit the ground and creates a form of calcite crystal which grows from the ground up, called a concrete platform. I'm kidding. A stalagmite, like this one right here. Now it's called a stalagmite because it might reach the ceiling one day, while the one above my head is called a stalactite because it holds tight to the ceiling so it doesn't fall down. Now, if you look at this curved edge of the cave wall here, you may notice how this calcite crystal has become deposited in almost a puddle. Now, gravity will do what gravity does best, and it will pull this puddle of crystal into strips, like these ones right here. Now, these strips will continue to be pulled further and further and further away from the cave wall until those little strips and really this entire area here looks a little bit more like this cluster of formations right here. Now, these strips that you see here, I like to call them cave bacon. Now, cave bacon is my favorite formation in the cave because it's hollow on the inside, which gives it the ability to do something that no other formation can. Because cave bacon is hollow, it is actually an absorber of and a dampener of sounds, voices, and echoes in a cave. Now, on our way up to the dome room, I want you guys to take a peek at this thin rope-like formation that runs all along the cave floor. Now, this is called shelfstone. And if you want to follow me, shelfstone tells us that at one point in the cave's history, a large stagnant pool of water rested in this room. And over top of that pool of water, similar to ice on a frozen lake, a calcite raft formed on top. Now, as that water was drained out of the cave over time, that calcite raft was left behind, leaving behind what's known as false flooring. Now, hopefully there's no false flooring on our way up to the dome. Now, when geologists see a dome like this one here, they refer to it as a breakdown dome, which basically means that this dome was broken down, carved out, and created while the cave was resting under the ocean. Hot carbonic acid would have been rising up through this room, breaking down the limestone, carving out the dome, and forcing the limestone debris to the floor, where some of it still rests to this day. Now, as this cave was pushed from under the ocean, once again, rainwater was moving into the cave. And that rainwater was running over all of the limestone debris, drawing out the calcium, depositing carbon dioxide, and precipitating a layer of calcite crystal on top of that debris known as flowstone. Now, flowstone is called flowstone because it resembles the flow of the water. And no, it isn't dirt or dirty, it's crystal. Flowstone like this is actually the most abundant form of crystal in our cave, and in addition to that, it grows the fastest as well. Because while everything above our heads grows at 1 inch per every 100 years, flowstone like this here grows at 4 inches per every 100 years. Now, if you look off to the right here, you will see what is known as the Thompson Tunnel. Now, if all had gone according to plan in the 1950s, you and I would be making our way up a nice cement staircase up through this room and into the rest of the tour. However, when the original construction workers that dynamite blasted this entire area got to the top that you can see up there, they sat down to take a lunch break, they broke out their peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, they pressed their ear against the wall, and what do you think they heard? They heard the sound of rushing water right on the other side of that wall. Now, this was both intriguing but mostly alarming to those men, as you can imagine. So they packed up their lunches, packed down their drills, and dynamite blasted in an alternate direction, avoiding that cave area forever. Now, you folks noticed how it's pretty dry outside, right? But it's wet inside the cave. Now, how is that possible? Well, it's made possible by things just like what's behind that wall, a water pocket. And these water pockets are all around this cave, and they are the reservoirs for these halls, because these water pockets collect the rainwater during the wet season and move it into the cave during the dry, so that no matter how dry it is outside this cave, it will always, 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 always be wet inside these walls.
Don't touch it, but we dynamited the hell out of this thing to get here, so. Yeah, I wonder at what point do they start saying don't touch, you know? Like it already, before they realize what it was.
Yeah.
So I'm sure those 1800. Oh, yeah.
It's in the point where they can turn a profit.
Yeah. We gotta preserve it.
For profit.
Now this room that you're staying in is the last room on your tour today. However, in 1874, this room would have been room number 1 on the original tour of Shasta Caverns. Because in 1874, James Richardson and Charles Morton would have bravely descended 91 feet from the natural entrance that lies above our heads. Now these men would have descended into this room with nothing but the light from their carbide lantern affixed to our caving home. Now these carbide lanterns could see 6 to maybe 7 feet right in front of your face, and they were powered by a flame smaller than your candle at home. Now these carbide lanterns are actually very important to our cave's history because in 1878, when James Richardson and Charles Morton made the longest journey into the cave that they ever did, they left their name on the wall using that carbide lantern. They would have removed it, pried it open, and used the soot to carve their name into the wall, leaving it there forever. Now that ladder that you folks hopefully saw is the only natural way to descend from this room, the cathedral, to the passageways that lead down to the basement. And the top of that ladder lies right over here, and it's almost 40 feet in length. This ladder that you're looking at was built, hiked up the mountain, and installed in this room by high school students in the 1930s. Students from the same high school that I just graduated from 8 months ago. Now the names above this ladder are men who came after James Richardson and Charles Morton. And that third name from the top, H.C. Campbell, is the brave teacher who led those even braver students up the mountain. Comprehend things that they never could have. So take it all in, but not only is this the last room on the tour, but it's the last and the best opportunity to get a photo with your group, your spouse, or the person that you came on the tour with. And not only am I a professional tour guide, but I also double as a professional photographer. I only charge $5 a photo, and right here is the best background. One of those things is a lie, and I'll let you figure out which one that is. But who's gonna be the picture pioneer? I know you guys want. There we go. Awesome. Of course. Sounds good. Get you my hand. I'll get my finger in all of them. Right? Or better yet, you can check your phones later and find a bunch of selfies of me. Huh? There you go. Of course.
There's water on it.
Yeah, one of the best views.